Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking about knowing your numbers. So, as some of you might remember, the last time we came on site, we did the biometric screening. So, when that happened, we test for your blood, we test for glucose and cholesterol and things like that. So, I want to go over what those numbers mean and how you can improve them to improve your overall health. So, knowing your numbers is really important. The American Heart Association recommends that you be aware of key numbers shown below. And these numbers are important because they allow you and your healthcare provider to determine your risk for developing cardiovascular disease, such as heart attack, stroke, and peripheral artery disease. Maintaining healthy cholesterol levels is a great way to keep your heart healthy. It can lower your chances of getting heart diseases or having a stroke. So, what is cholesterol and what does it do? Cholesterol is a waxy substance produced and released into your bloodstream by cells in your liver. And it's not inherently a bad thing. In fact, your body actually needs it to build cells and produce hormones and things like that. But like a lot of things, too much of cholesterol can be a problem. So cholesterol comes from two sources. Your liver creates all the cholesterol that your body needs, and the rest of the cholesterol comes from the foods we eat, specifically foods derived from animals, which would be like meat, poultry, and full-fat dairy products. So that's your dietary cholesterol. And cholesterol circulates in your blood. So as the amount of cholesterol in your blood increases, so does the risk to your health. Cholesterol can join with other substances to form a thick, hard deposit on the inside of your arteries, which can narrow them and make them less flexible. So, an ideal total cholesterol number is less than 200. So, I want to talk about good versus bad cholesterol, and I'll start with the bad. So, we call this low density lipoproteins, or LDL, and this is considered the bad cholesterol because it contributes to fatty buildups in your arteries. So your body naturally produces all of the LDL that your body needs, but having an unhealthy lifestyle, not exercising enough and having too many unhealthy foods makes your body produce more LDL than it needs. So this increases your risk for heart attack, stroke, and peripheral artery disease. So an ideal range for your LDL cholesterol is less than 100. Now we'll move on to the good cholesterol that we call high density lipoproteins, or HDL cholesterol. And this is called the good cholesterol because they act as a scavenger by removing the LDL cholesterol from your bloodstream. And because of this, the higher this number, the better. So an ideal range for women is above 50 and for men above 40. So there are some ways that you can increase your HDL cholesterol. One being increasing your physical activity. So even 60 minutes of physical activity a week can help to improve these numbers. So try and get out there and walk even 10 minutes a day if you have that. Quit smoking because smoking decreases your HDL cholesterol. And choose healthier fats. So try to avoid the trans fats and saturated fats because they increase that LDL or bad cholesterol and lower your HDL cholesterol levels. So instead of those types of fats, it's best to choose healthier fats like omega-3 fatty acids. These can be found in deep sea fish like salmon, tuna, or mackerel. If you've ever heard of someone taking a fish oil pill, it's because it helps to increase their good cholesterol. You can also find it in foods like walnuts, flaxseed, avocado, olive oil, and a number of other foods. Now we'll move on to triglycerides. So triglycerides are a type of fat found in your bloodstream, and they store unused calories and provide your body with energy. However, if you regularly eat more calories than you burn, particularly from high carbohydrate foods, you may have high triglycerides. So we want to watch that number. We want to try and keep that under 150. So odds are there are lifestyle changes you can make to improve your cholesterol numbers if they aren't where you want them to be, because more often than not, unhealthy behaviors are the main culprits behind high cholesterol. Now, heredity is a factor as well. Some people inherit genes from their parents or even grandparents that cause them to have too much cholesterol, but simple lifestyle changes can help to improve those numbers. So a couple things you can do is reducing or eliminating saturated fat and trans fats and switching over to those healthier fats, which means cutting back on red meat and full fat dairy products, instead choosing low fat or fat free dairy products or leaner meat. It also means limiting fried foods and cooking with healthier oils such as vegetable oil or olive oil. Eat more fruits and veggies. That's also important because a heart healthy diet emphasizes fruits and vegetables, not only because they have a lot of good vitamins and minerals, but because they also have a lot of fiber. And a diet high in fiber is shown to help lower cholesterol levels by as much as 10%. Become more physically active. Try and get out there as much as you can to improve that HDL cholesterol. Quit smoking, and then losing weight can also help as well. So, in thinking about losing weight, it can be helpful to find some healthier alternatives. So, instead of going for chips, choosing something like popcorn because it has a lot less saturated fat, trans fat, sodium, and calories overall. Also, thinking about doing something like a smoothie instead of a milkshake or a protein bar instead of a candy bar. Things like that can really help you um, make some good changes for your cholesterol. So now I'll move on to blood pressure. And a lot of people are familiar with blood pressure. We get this tested when we go to the doctor, but some people don't know exactly what it means. So blood pressure is the force of blood against the arteries when the heart beats and rests. And we have two different numbers, the systolic number, which is the top number, and the diastolic number, which is the bottom number. So that systolic number is the pressure your blood is exerting against your arteries when the heart beats, and the diastolic is the pressure the blood is exerting while your heart is resting between beats. So when your blood pressure is high, that means the pressure in your arteries is elevated. And when your blood pressure is too high for too long, it damages your blood vessels, and that's when the LDL cholesterol starts to pile up in there and damage your arteries. So high blood pressure increases the risk for heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, peripheral artery disease, and death. And so an ideal blood pressure is less than 120 over 80. High blood pressure is often called the silent killer. Most of the time, high blood pressure has no obvious symptoms to indicate that something is wrong. So the best way to protect yourself is to be aware of the risks and making changes that matter. So a few facts, like I said, most people with high blood pressure don't even know they have it. Often the signs and symptoms are misunderstood. High blood pressure develops slowly over time and can be related to many causes such as stress, lack of activity, genetics, things like that. And high blood pressure cannot be cured, but it can be managed effectively through lifestyle changes and medication. So it's important to know your blood pressure numbers, and the easiest way to know that is to get it tested. So many pharmacies offer a free blood pressure cuff that you can use at any time. So now we'll move on to blood sugar or blood glucose. So glucose is one of the body's preferred sources of fuel in the form of carbohydrates. And we get glucose from the things we eat, such as bread, fruits, vegetables, and dairy products. And you need those foods to create the energy that helps to keep you alive. But like many things, it's best to keep your glucose in moderation. You want to keep an eye on it to make sure your blood sugar or your blood glucose doesn't get too high, because that can have permanent and serious effects. So, whenever we eat something, our body produces insulin to regulate our sugar levels. And if you consistently eat too much sugar and a couple of other factors, such as being obese, your insulin can't balance out your sugar. So, it's really important to watch out for that. So, an ideal range for blood sugar is less than 100 if you're fasting, or less than 140 if you're non fasting. So, when thinking about the sugars that we eat, we have to eat sugar because it's in our diet, but it's best to eat natural sugars if possible. And natural sugars are found in fruit and dairy products, and these foods contain essential nutrients that keep the body healthy and help to prevent disease. And natural sources of sugar are digested slower and help to keep you full for longer, and they also help to keep your metabolism stable. So, those are the ideal sugars that we want to go for. And we want to stay away from refined sugar. This is used in many processed foods, and the body breaks this down really quickly, which causes your insulin and blood sugar levels to spike. And since it's digested really quickly, you don't feel full for long after you're done eating, regardless of how much you ate. And increased consumption of refined sugar has been linked to the rise in obesity rates as well. So, a couple tips to reduce your refined sugar consumption is stick to water. Things like sodas, energy drinks, sports drinks, and fruit juices contribute to a lot of sugar in our diet. And most of those have little nutritional value and do not keep you hydrated. So, limiting those drinks will significantly reduce your sugar intake and help to improve your overall health. Another thing to watch out for is sauces and toppings. So it's pretty shocking how much sugar is added to ketchup, barbecue sauce, salad dressing, and other common condiments. So instead, try to flavor your food with fresh herbs and spices, or lemon, lime juice, pesto, homemade salad dressing, things like that. And if you do have to buy sauces and toppings, try to go for the full fat options because they often contain less added sugar than the fat free versions. And lastly, limit processed snacks. So even snacks labeled as organic, all natural, or healthy may be full of added sugar. Some granola and protein bars contain up to 8 teaspoons of added sugar. So instead, try snacking on mixed nuts, fruit, or a cup of veggies. So I want to tie it all together with body composition and your health. So body composition is directly related to health, and excess fat in relation to lean body mass can increase your risk for cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and more. So sarcopenia, which is the medical term for underdeveloped muscle and a characteristic of skinny fatness, this has been linked with increased insulin resistance and the development of type 2 diabetes. So this greatly helps to explain the rise in cases of prediabetes and diabetes, and it's not something only developed by overweight or obese people. People with little muscle mass but a normal body weight share the same risk as well. So this is why it's so important to know your body composition. It can help you determine the general state of your overall health. And even if you appear to be healthy on the outside and weigh in at a seemingly normal weight on the scale, you might still have an unhealthy or altered body composition. So it's really important to check that body composition when you can, um, and to get an overall picture of your health.